Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the Indian economy and its ranking. And this article, we will delve into the depth and understand why this article says that India is the third largest economy in the world, neither the fourth nor the fifth. So here you can see in the picture we are talking about fourth largest, but why am I saying that this article is talking about the third largest? We'll see this and much more. We'll analyze, we'll understand a lot of concepts with respect to this article. So let's get started. What is the news? The news is recently the Niti Aayog CEO has declared that India has overtaken Japan. Which country has it overtaken? Japan, and become the fourth largest economy of the world. Here is the graph. First is USA, then China, then Germany, and here is our India, which is slightly above Japan. So this makes India the fourth largest economy of the world. But then why are we saying no, it's not fourth, it's third? Let us understand that. So what happened when India was declared by the Niti Aayog CEO as the fourth largest economy of the world? There were two kinds of reactions. The very first reaction, of course, was self-congratulation, congratulating our own self to become the fourth largest economy of the world. But the other kind of reaction is the examination of the claim and a counter to that claim based on the IMF data. Why are we using IMF data? Because the claim itself is made on the IMF data. So subsequently, the second reaction is the examination of the claim based on the IMF data, stating that India is still the fifth largest economy and not the fourth. So here there's a lot of confusion between third, fourth, fifth. So let us see why are these rankings coming in front. So we need to understand that which claim is correct. Is the Niti Aayog's claim correct over here? Let us see. So has India overtaken Japan right now, or has that already happened? This article says that this particular thing of India becoming the fourth largest economy had already taken place in the reign of Mr. Manmohan Singh. Yes. So India, in fact, became not just the fourth. The article says India became, in fact, the third largest economy of the world. And this happened when? This happened during the reign of Mr. Manmohan Singh as the Prime Minister in the year 2009 itself. So why is that the case? So we'll understand this with the help of graphs and the concepts. So we need to analyze which claim is correct. So this is a graph which talks about the GDP. So what is this talking about? The GDP at current prices, that is the nominal GDP. What is a nominal GDP? At current prices is the nominal GDP. The GDP of a country based on the prices of the goods and services of the same year, for the year for which the GDP is being calculated, is known as the nominal GDP. So based on the nominal GDP, taking into account the purchasing power parity, very important concept. So if you take into account the purchasing power parity, then India had become, if you can see, this is India, this is India's graph. So India had become, this is USA, I think, yes, USA and China. So this is USA, this is China, USA, China. They are first, China is first here, USA is second here. And you can clearly see India has become third already before 2008, that is in the year 2009 itself. India broke away from this group and became the third largest economy of the world in terms of purchasing power parity. The source of this graph is what? The World Economic Outlook, again source from the IMF, that is the International Monetary Fund. This is the source. So India has already become the third largest economy, right? So now, how are we then fourth and have improved? So the question to be asked here is, how this calculation is done that is showing that India became the third largest economy in 2009 itself. How can we say that? And the second is with respect to the concept that if India was the third largest economy in the world, why that data was not known to us for the last 11 years, and why now we are getting to know that India is overtaking Japan and becoming the fourth largest. Now still the confusion is there, so let us try to clear this confusion. So there are two ways to explain this. One is the economic method, the second is the politics of it. So first let us understand the economics of it. So let's take an example wherein suppose you and your friend both are doing a job. Now your friend has a salary of 45,000 per month, you have a salary of 50,000 per month. Now who is doing better? The clear answer is you. You are the one who is doing better over here. But now if I add another context to it, I say that you are doing your job in Mumbai, right, or Bangalore for example, while your friend is doing the job in Patna or Lucknow. Now if I ask whose living standard will be better, who will be having better comfort, better goods and services, now can you say it will be surely you? No, not necessarily. Why is that the case? Because here the cost of living gets included, right? The cost of living in Mumbai and Bangalore is high than Patna and Lucknow. So even with lower salary you can live even better because there is a cheaper city to live in. Now all these cities are in India. So what we do over here is, now let us take you abroad, right? So if the question here is, how do we know that France or Japan is bigger and better economy than India? We cannot for sure say, because the living cost over there will be higher than many cities of India. So here we are introducing the concept of the cost of living. Then the second approach is to look at the nominal GDP. Now nominal GDP is the GDP calculated for a particular year based on the prices of that same year. So this nominal GDP is creating a huge amount of issue. Why is it creating a huge amount of issue? It is creating a huge amount of issue because in nominal GDP you might want to include the purchasing power parity or you might remove it, right? So if you look at current price GDP, that means this is the nominal GDP that we are talking about. In that, what has happened is, if you look at India, now India has now suddenly risen over here, and this is where India is, right? So you can see in terms of nominal GDP, India is doing quite well, right? Now moving ahead, the issue in this is, what about the exchange rate? So the exchange rate also needs to be taken into account. What do we mean by exchange rate? For example, if the Indian rupee gets weak against the dollar, that means if $1 equals 80 rupees, from here, if $1 becomes 100 rupees, for example, earlier India's GDP was, let's say, 80 rupees only. So in dollar terms, it will be $1. And if the exchange rate would have been such that $1 equals 100 rupees, then the same GDP would be said to be, instead of $1, we may say that it is just $0.8, even though the GDP is the same. That means what? If the rupee weakens, the GDP goes down. In the second case, if the Japanese yen is getting stronger, so if we talk about the Japanese yen, if it gets stronger, so with the same GDP, Japan can say our GDP has increased because the GDP calculation is in dollar. So this is another factor that is getting introduced over here. Now, but the most important factors, all the factors that we have talked about, nominal GDP, exchange rate, are secondary. The primary factor here is the purchasing power parity, right? Now, why this is the primary factor? Simply, what happens is, let's say, for example, right now, $1 is trading at around 87 rupees, but for ease of calculation, let us take it to be 80 rupees. Now, if you take this 80 rupees and go to the market, you might be able to buy one ice cream in McDonald's. For example, one ice cream you are buying. So let's say you buy one ice cream in McDonald's. Now the same size, same variety, same quality of McDonald's ice cream, if you go and want to buy it in USA, you might be required to pay close to $4. That means what? That means the purchasing power, 80 rupees might be equal to $1 in the exchange rate, but when you take that 80 rupees in the market, it has a way higher power to purchase goods and services as compared to $1. So that means what will be based on purchasing power parity principle, your $4 is equal to 80 rupees. Hence, your $1 is having a value of just 20 rupees. That means if India's GDP is just 80 rupees, in terms of dollar, it is becoming $1 over here. This is without purchasing power parity. The moment you include the purchasing power parity principle, India's $1 of GDP will have to be multiplied by a factor of 4, as you can see over here, and its GDP will automatically become $4 instead of 1. And if you take this purchasing power parity into account, that's when the writer of this article says that based on the purchasing power parity, India had already become the third largest economy in the world in 2009 itself. And as we see how logical it is to take purchasing power parity into consideration, right? But what is the politics of this? The politics of this is that if you would take purchasing power parity into consideration, India would have become third largest economy in the year 2009 only, and the other two countries that are ahead of India are USA and China. So then what will happen is they are so ahead, multiple folds ahead. They are so ahead that you will never be able to claim in 5, 10, 15 years of the reign that you have from third jumped on to second or jumped on to first. You will not be able to claim. So what has conveniently been done over here is you have removed the purchasing power parity concept. You have just taken nominal GDP into consideration, based on which the rank was lower and the country was in a group of countries very closely spaced with each other, so that now you can claim from 5th we have gone on to become 4th. If you would have taken purchasing power parity into account, which you should, then you will not have been able to make this claim. So this is possibly the politics behind it, which this article talks about. So here is GDP per capita also. So I hope the concept is clear. The purchasing power parity principle, if you take into account, India is the third largest country in economy in 2009 itself, but that does not help the politics of it, as a result of which you separate it and then make this claim, so that there is celebration all around and there is a political mileage that you get. So I hope now the confusion is clear. Now coming on to the other thing, even if we assume that, what about the GDP per capita? India's nominal GDP might have increased even without purchasing power parity. You are showing that it has increased, but the per capita income is not increasing as such. If you look at it, here is the graph for increase in per capita income of India, which is as good as stagnant. Look at the other countries. If you look at it, there is a growth. If you look at it, there is a growth. There is a growth over here. But if you look at India's, it is stagnant. So even if this claim is made for political mileage after removing purchasing power parity, still there are underlying issues. India's per capita GDP is not showing much of a growth as such. So the question the writer says here is, should we really be celebrating this position? Because per capita income has not improved, there has not been much of development. India might have overtaken Japan to become the 4th largest economy of the world, but there is no such improvement in the socio-economic development that is there. At the same time, purchasing power parity has not been taken into consideration. If it was, India was already the 3rd largest economy in the world. So probably this is just for the political mileage, so that it can then be claimed that we have done an amazing task. So this is what this article was all about. I hope the confusion with respect to it is clear, and for your prelims exam you will be absolutely sure with respect to purchasing power parity what is India's ranking, and with respect to without considering purchasing power parity what is the ranking of India. So this is the reality behind India's rank with respect to GDP. Thank you.